I stared at him. Did he recognize what was about to happen to him? He, Gabriel, continued to stare at me intently. He was trying to intimidate me with his impressive physique and menacing eyes. I didn't think I had ever been this angry before, so ready to hurt another person. Sure, I occasionally yelled at idiot drivers on the road, but I had never so forcefully wished for another person's demise. For me, Gabriel wasn't a real person, he was just an asshole who was trying to ruin my marriage. What do you think you're doing, Dave? I ignored Gabriel, not wanting to get distracted from my mission. It finally dawned on Gabriel what was about to happen. Gabriel's eyes urgently looked around the room, trying to find some ways to stop his impending demise. Stop, Dave. You don't want to do this. Lillian will never forgive you, Gabriel said as I slowly and methodically worked. Dave, stop. You don't want to do this. It's too late, asshole. Say goodbye. My wife and I first met at a college football game where I was captivated by her beauty, laugh, and flirtatiousness. We had quickly progressed from our first date into her spending long weekends in my apartment, playing video games interspersed with vigorous bouts of sex. Now, 30 years later, I worked 10 hours a day as a mid-level IT manager. Lillian had quit her job to raise our 3 children. Now that we were empty nesters, Lillian took care of the house and enjoyed a relaxing life of shopping, reading, and housework. Sadly, I had been the one that introduced Gabriel into our lives. I had been doing some research for a work project and had stumbled upon a website called DGmates that used artificial intelligence to find someone's perfect match. I had jokingly suggested that we introduce another person into our sex lives. Neither of us had been confident to try a threesome before, both fearing that jealousy and anger would ruin our marriage. Starting something online seemed like it would be an interesting way to add some spice to our 20-plus-year marriage. We had fun creating a profile, teasing each other about our real or imagined desires and kinks. It had taken us 3 separate tries just to complete our profile, the prior 2 sessions being interrupted by rounds of enthusiastic sex inspired by the website. We first looked for a female companion. Come on, it was my idea after all, and I was a red-blooded American. I had no interest in men, so it only made sense that I'd want to introduce another woman into our lives. However, as a well-trained married man, I let my wife select the woman that she was most comfortable with engaging. We were easily matched with a few female companions, which was awkward at first since neither of us were experienced with another partner. All our interactions were done over the webcam at this point. We were able to select the woman and web chat with her to be sure there was good chemistry. While I was slightly concerned that I would lose Lillian to one of these women, I always made sure to please her as much as humanly possible at the end of the night. Our sessions would generally start with an introduction to a new female. We often wouldn't finish up pleasuring each other until the early hours of the morning. Lillian and I would stumble to bed and immediately fall asleep. We had decided early on that we would try new companions each time so as not to get too attached to any one woman. However, a few patterns became apparent. 1. My wife really enjoyed the nude female body, and I had no trouble playing a supporting role, touching my wife where appropriate while her attention was focused on her female lover. More troubling, however, was that while Lillian had issues giving up control to me, she willingly submitted to the women we found online, doing whatever the woman wanted while I watched. Under the direction of her female lovers, Lillian called herself a toy among other degrading terms. Lillian also really enjoyed being forced for the enjoyment of her female lover. After a few lovers, we started meeting with Angelica, a buxom Eurasian 25-year-old that Lillian was particularly attracted to. I would have to admit that Lillian achieved a new level of sexiness and passion when she played with Angelica and myself. Her eyes had a certain intensity and craziness that both scared and turned me on. I attributed it to both Angelica's flawless body and her intense and dominant personality. While I enjoyed participating and making love to Lillian during after our sessions, I noticed that Angelica's dominant comments and requests started to include me. In one such occasion, Angelica stood naked, her hands on her sultry hips and her gravity-defying breasts heaving sensuously. Lillian lay in front of her computer monitor, her body covered in a sheen of sweat. I sat on the floor between Lillian's legs, she stared intently at Angelica on the monitor. "Do you wish I was licking you, Lil?" Angelica coyly asked. "God, yes. Lillian replied. Do you see these lips, Lil? Do you see my little bubblegum tongue? Can you picture me lightly kissing you? Imagine how much better it would feel to have a woman eating you out rather than your husband? What? I thought, stopping my activities on my wife briefly to figure it if I had heard Angelica's comments accurately. I tried to turn around and get a terse hold up to Angelica but was stopped mid-turn and sentence as Lillian pulled my face down. Yes! Lillian exclaimed. I quickly threw off Lillian's hand and stood up quickly. No, we are not doing that, I said as I accidentally backed into Lillian's desk, landing on her laptop, turning it off. Damn it, Angelica, I said as she disappeared. Honey, what's wrong? Why didn't you let me finish? Lillian asked with a mixture of concern and poutiness. I will not be talked to that way, Lillian, I won't be talked to that way, I half-shouted at Lillian as I hovered naked above her as she tried to shrink into the chair. Lillian quickly rose from the chair and dropped down to her knees. I know, honey, you're my hard, sexy man. I wisely shut up to allow Lillian to soothe my ego and my manhood. After I finished, she came in for a hug and we quickly headed up to bed. Neither of us spoke of Angelica again for several weeks. Lillian did her best to make herself available to me sexually, but her attentiveness and passion quickly returned to their standard level over the next few weeks. Lillian gradually brought up the idea of finding someone else to join us, but I was still infuriated by our last interaction with Angelica. The idea of being demeaned by another woman did not interest me. After several weeks of cajoling me into trying another one, Lillian suggested that we introduce a man into our online activity. Come on, honey, we played around with a lot of women, I want to try another man, Lillian pouted and said as we lay in bed together on Saturday morning. Let's be honest, it was more about you and the woman than about me. We both enjoyed it. As I recall, you ended up doing it many times after our encounters. I've got no interest in being with another guy. I don't want to see another dude's junk or pretend to do anything with it. I'm not sure that I can handle seeing you have any interaction with another man. You know I love you. I don't want anyone but you. This was just for us to explore our fantasies together. Realizing that I really didn't have a tenable position from which to argue, I reluctantly agreed to let her find a man, with some stipulations. I don't want to be involved in finding another guy online. I don't want to look at another guy. I don't want to have another guy looking at me. You're the best, Lillian said as she quickly hopped out of bed. Quickly donning an old t-shirt and sweats, Lillian blew me a kiss as she ran downstairs to her computer. Laughing at her exuberance, I quickly dressed in old clothes myself before heading outside to do some long overdue yard work. The next Saturday night, Lillian introduced me to Mark. As with our female partners, the event focused on Lillian's pleasure. Lillian and Mark chatted and flirted while I focused my attentions on her. I started behind her, massaging her shoulders but gradually worked my hands down, unbuttoning her blouse as I progressed downwards. The conversation with Mark and my touch quickly inflamed Lillian's passion and I quickly removed her clothes. Soon, I pulled Lillian to our soft rug and make it cock urgently in the missionary position. I was lost in the intensity of the scene and wasn't too concerned too much by the dirty talking between Lillian and Mark. As Lillian and I simultaneously finished, we said goodnight to Mark and made our way upstairs to our back room. We discussed the encounter the next morning over breakfast. Lillian's excitement was palpable. Wasn't that amazing, babe? It was so hot, you were on me, and Mark was talking so dirty that you both took me over the edge. Yeah, it was great, I said unconvincingly as I took another bit of pancake. Lillian didn't seem to hear my lack of enthusiasm as she continued relating to me how much we enjoyed the whole scenario. I looked at her, enjoying her energy and passion but silently worried about where such arousal could lead us. Not wanting Lillian to develop a relationship with any of the men, I suggested that we find a new man each time. Now more experienced, Lillian knew exactly what she was looking for and spent hours searching the website for the perfect man for us. Again, Lillian didn't notice or seem to care about my reaction to her comments. Maybe I wasn't as perfect for her as I thought. The next Saturday night, Lillian introduced me to Gabriel, a fit young man with piercing blue eyes. Gabriel quickly took control of the situation and ordered both Lillian and me around with his commanding voice. Lillian was obviously aroused being dominated by this mysterious and commanding stranger. As always, it was adventurous and fulfilling. Even after saying goodnight to Gabriel, Lillian and I went upstairs to continue our lovemaking. Lillian was exuberant about the experience and quickly proclaimed it the best lovemaking experience of her life. I thought our honeymoon in Hawaii was pretty good, I quickly chimed in from underneath her. And last year when we spent the weekend in Carmel, you wouldn't let me touch you for 3 days because of how many times you came, I said, scooting out from underneath her and trying not to pout like a child. Babe, I'm sorry, Lillian said as he hugged my chest and preventing me from retreating further. You're always amazing, she said looking deep into my eyes. You really like Gabriel. Yes, she said climbing on top of me. But not as much as you, I love you so much, she said, arching her back as another orgasm hit her. We finished up in the early hours of the morning, too exhausted to continue anymore. The next weekend, I found myself laying on our rug, Lillian astride my face in a reverse cowgirl position. She was facing Gabriel, but I couldn't see what they were doing from underneath her. I could hear their voices but not much else. Finally, everyone satiated, we said goodbye to Gabriel again and made our way upstairs. Wasn't that great, baby? Lillian said as we both slipped into bed after showering. I don't know, I responded honestly. What's wrong? She asked. I enjoyed it. I always enjoy it when you get in the mood. But I felt like the outsider tonight. You were engaged with Gabriel more than me, you talked to him all night and I just feel like you used me like a toy. Ah baby, Lillian said as she lay her head on my chest and gently stroked her hand across my stomach. I love your magic tongue and I really like teasing you with the slow hand. I liked it too, honorable, it just felt like you were more into Gabriel than me. I don't think we should play with Gabriel anymore. What? She said, quickly sitting up in bed, her magnificent breasts silhouetted in the moonlight coming in from our bedroom window. You heard me. Fine, she said and quickly rolled over to the far side of the bed. I guess we were done talking. At least, I got through to her and would never have to hear from Gabriel again. That was until the following Tuesday night. My last meeting of the day, a meeting to talk about integrating 2 of our major applications, was cancelled, so I took the opportunity to head home early and avoid rush hour traffic. I could do some more work from home, so I didn't feel guilty about leaving the office early. As I pulled into our driveway, everything seemed normal. Lillian's car was parked in her usual spot in the garage and my spot was open. Coming in from the garage, I could immediately hear Lillian talking. Not wanting to scare her, I quickly went to the den to talk to Lillian and to plug in my laptop. As I rounded the corner, the first thing I could see was Gabriel reclining, slowly stroking his erect member. He was speaking slowly in a commanding tone, staring intently at Lillian's sex as he commanded her to stand in the middle of our den. What the hell? I exclaimed, throwing my laptop case down and quickly advancing into the room. Lillian screamed and tried unsuccessfully to cover up her body. What the hell is this? I screamed again, causing Lillian to run upstairs to our bedroom. I followed her to the bottom of the stairs until Lillian slammed the door shut. I turned back to the den, but Gabriel was already gone. I forcefully kicked Lillian's chair against the wall, leaving a hole in the drywall, and then dropped forcefully into my own office chair. I tried to do some work, I didn't want to get fired after all. However, losing my job to spite Lillian in divorce proceedings did hold some appeal to me. Lillian came downstairs in her old bathrobe several hours later. She didn't say a word as she started silently massaging my shoulders. I shrank from her touch, but she kept her slow, steady pressure. I'm sorry, baby. I don't know what I was thinking. I was home and paying the bills at my desk and started thinking about last Saturday. I just got so horny and contacted Gabriel. Lillian wrapped her arms around my neck from behind, her tears running down my back. I was beyond angry at Lillian but didn't like to see her in pain. Never again, Lillian. I know, baby. I'm sorry. I've got to finish some work, Lillian. Please let me be. I love you but I'm very upset right now. I'm sorry, she said, wiping her nose on the sleeve of her robe. Lillian left, her head down, as shuffled into the kitchen to start dinner. It was a long night that led to a late-night conversation. By 3 a.m., we were both exhausted after reaching an agreement that we would never involve Gabriel or another in our relationship again. Several months later, I came home early on a Saturday night. My friends and I had gone out to watch the latest sci-fi movie, but I had declined a drink afterwards. It had been a long week and I just wanted to relax and spend time with Lillian. As I walked in the door from the garage, I could hear Lillian flirtatiously laughing. "What's so funny, Lillian?" I said loudly, walking up behind her. "What do you mean?" Lillian stammered as she quickly rushed to sit upright in her chair and slyly tried to bring the two halves of her floral print shirt together, using the hand that she had rapidly removed from her Lululemon pants. I was shocked to see Gabriel reclined across from her. Lillian's eyes quickly shifted between the face of her agitated husband and her lover. Like a deer caught in a car's headlights, Lillian froze, unable to move or speak. "You've got to be kidding me," I said with a hint of resignation in my voice. Lillian, like a chastised child, quickly got up while avoiding eye contact and tried to race upstairs again. She knew that she had messed up again but couldn't seem to resist Gabriel. "This ends now, Lillian," I said as I carefully pushed Lillian back down into her chair. She immediately tried to get up again, so I quickly sat on her lap to prevent her escape. She fruitlessly tried to push me off, but I easily outweighed her by 50 pounds. Infuriatingly, Gabriel tried to retake control of our encounter. "Are you here for me now, Dave? Have you seen how much fun that Lillian and we are having?" Gabriel asked with a laugh. My fists clenched, my knuckles turning white as I glared at Gabriel. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest, rage boiling over. Could I really make Gabriel disappear? Lillian clearly cared for him and would be devastated if I got rid of him. But she had clearly crossed a line, openly disrespecting me and our marriage, and I had to respond if I wanted to maintain any shred of dignity. "No, I'm here to end this," I hissed through gritted teeth. The room seemed to close in around me, and my breathing grew heavy. "Get off, Lillian," Gabriel said as his hand slid down. "The way you're breathing hard, it sounds like I'm getting you worked up. Get on your knees and tell me what a good sissy you'd be," Gabriel said, taunting me. We intently stared at each other as I steeled my resolve to get rid of Gabriel. I knew that there would be ramifications but couldn't predict which of the possible outcomes would come true. Would Lillian leave me for what I planned to do to Gabriel? Would Lillian just find another boyfriend after mourning Gabriel for some length of time? I didn't see any other negative repercussions in my future. I was too smart for that, and who would care that Gabriel was gone? "Dave, get off Lillian and tell me how you do it," Gabriel said, interrupting my thoughts and forcing my hand to action. Gabriel noticed my eyes shifting to the means of his demise. "What do you think you're doing, Dave?" I ignored Gabriel, not wanting to get distracted from my mission. Lillian grew increasingly frustrated with her confinement and started to yell at me to get off as she ineffectively tried to get me off her. It finally dawned on Gabriel what was about to happen. Gabriel's eyes urgently looked around the room, trying to find some means to stop his impending demise. "Stop, Dave. You don't want to do this. Lillian will never forgive you," Gabriel said as I slowly and methodically worked. "Dave, stop. You don't want to do this. It's too late, asshole. Say goodbye." "No, Dave." Lillian wailed from underneath me. "Don't do it, I'm sorry. It will never happen again," Lillian pleaded as my hand grabbed her laptop mouse and I clicked the My Account section of the DGmates website. Quickly, I clicked on Virtual Lovers and the screen filled with the profiles for all the artificial intelligence lovers that Lillian and I had engaged in since the beginning of our adventure, both male and female. "Please no, Dave. Don't get rid of Gabriel," Lillian plaintively cried from underneath me as the tears rolled down her cheeks. "Buddy, let's be reasonable here," Gabriel said as he sat back on his couch as a silk sheet materialized out of thin air to cover his nude form. "Think this through, Dave. How many hours of work have you and Lillian spent with all of us, training the model so that we could best respond to both of your desires? Lillian will be crushed if all that time is gone forever. Let me adjust the AI model for your account. Ah, I see the problem. We failed to identify that you didn't share Lillian's submissive tendencies. I've corrected that problem, and when the new model is built tonight, I think that you'll find." I cut Gabriel off by clicking on the Delete All button on the DGmate screen. I clicked on Affirmative when asked to confirm that I wanted all our virtual lovers deleted. Just to be safe, I also deleted our account. Lillian was rightfully upset with me but stopped fighting back once I had deleted the account. I quickly got off her and she ran upstairs, crying. I felt good. Gabriel was gone for good. Sure, Lillian could try to recreate him, but it would never be the same. Every physical difference, personality inconsistencies, and the loss of shared experiences would haunt her attempts to recreate him. Plus, I knew more about computers than she did and could tell if she created another account. Who knows what the future will bring? Hopefully, I have shown Lillian that I am willing to stand up for myself. Maybe that will be enough.